Yeah, man, I know, I get it. Yeah, Primo had to go through like a lot of controversy, and like we had to deal with like all that. It's a bunch of bullshit, but you know, Wemby's a good person. He's a really good role model on and off the court. I don't think we'll have to deal with any controversy from him for a while. We should be pretty good. I mean, it's not like he's gonna deal with Katy Perry or Britney Spears or anything where we have a massive scandal on our hands and we have to deal with their PR team. Alrighty, we should be live. Nathan Burnett, episode 49. It's been a while, guys. I'm not gonna lie, it's been a while. And I got some lo-fi in the background since it's just me today. So let me know if y'all like the lo-fi in the background. If you prefer just to be my voice for solo episodes, we're gonna try something different. But this episode should be a long one because, again, it's been a while since I made an episode, so we have a lot to talk about. So forgive me for not having a Nathan Burnett episode for a while. Life's just been busy. Have a relationship now. Started a new job where I'm working full time. I'm running a new club at my college campus, so lots of IRL stuff going on. So, but yeah, I'm excited to get back into the YouTube grind. We're probably gonna start doing podcast clips here again soon, so be on the lookout for the TikTok and YouTube shorts, all that good stuff. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into the episode. Me and CJ originally recorded an episode, but the audio was corrupted, so we couldn't use that. And then I tried to do a draft reaction, but there were so many fucking commercials that the draft went on for like 4 hours. So after like the first 5 picks, I stopped. But if y'all still want that, then let me know and I'll upload it. But again, it's like a 30-minute stream because like they were taking forever with that draft. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. So the first thing we can go ahead and talk about, just like the title and probably the intro, has let's talk about the Britney Spears Wembanyama drama again. I mean, I talked about it a little bit in its own video just because I wanted to upload a video that day when like the news broke out. So it was sort of like a initial reaction and like rant video, sort of like how my podcasts are, where I just sort of stream of consciousness talk and everything. But it's been a few days, up to a week since that broke out. So there's some new stuff. I haven't reacted to, or I hadn't reacted to the video on camera yet, but I did look at the video yesterday and earlier today before stream to sort of break it down. There was actually a Breakfast Club podcast video that I want to include here.
Now, allegedly, Britney Spears got slapped by, the brother's name is, I'm gonna mess up his name. I've been trying to get his name right for the last couple days.
His last name looked like a line at the eye doctor chart.
Victor Wembanyama. Of course, he plays for the Spurs. He just got drafted, the #1 draft pick. He was walking through Vegas, and a woman who he didn't know walked up behind him and she said she tapped him, and when she tapped him, the security guard allegedly turned around and slapped the ish out of her. Now, this is even so crazy because TMZ spoke to somebody that actually said he saw what happened, and this is what he said.
Wemby was walking into the area heading to catch when there was a fan who afterwards we found out was Britney Spears, was approaching him with a British accent, saying, excuse me, sir, and just kept trying to go towards him. When eventually he was heading, when Wemby and his entourage were heading into the restaurant where to catch, that's when Britney sort of infiltrated her way into this circle, and one of his bodyguards gave her like a backhand slap across the face.
Now, the reason I played that part is because that's what was the story that was going around.
Was Britney using the British accent? That was Britney Spears using the British accent?
I guess that's what he was saying. But he said Britney Spears, tapped him, and then the security guard backslapped her. But then the surveillance video came out. And when the surveillance video came out, it was Britney Spears. She did run up on him. Now, the player, I don't want to say his name wrong, Victor Wembanyama, he was walking. She tapped him on the... What?
How you pronounce his name wrong the first time, then again wrong the second time? I don't know if you, to be honest with you, I don't know if you
I
pronounce
might be
his
right,
name wrong.
but Victor Wembanyama, he was walking out the restaurant. She tapped him on his, I guess it would be his back because she can't reach his shoulder. And all the security guard did was slap her hand away.
And she ain't just tapped. She came running up. That woman was running up damn near full speed. Okay, and security reacted and they did their job. Security did exactly what they were supposed to do. They did nothing wrong.
What they were supposed to do.
In fact, they could have did worse because if someone's running up behind the person, which she did, she ran up behind him and security caught it just in time. Security could have reacted way worse than
That's
that.
right.
Knock it off.
So they tried to make him look bad. They tried to make his security look bad, but actually they did what they were supposed to do. That's why he's hired security.
If that wasn't Britney, y'all wouldn't care. If that was anybody else, if that was just some, random fan who did that, y'all would be saying security did their job.
Right.
Okay? Britney Spears or not, you don't run up behind nobody. No. We don't know who you are. You just come running up behind us.
No.
Knock it off. Security did their job.
Now, Las Vegas police announced Friday that the security guard would not be charged in the incident and said Britney's hand hit her own face.
That sort of breaks it down and gives my thoughts on it where, again, I personally feel that the security guard did what they were supposed to do. I mean, was Britney Spears, did she end up taking a lot of damage from it? Yes, but again, you can look at the video and see why that is, And to me, if you slow down the video, and again, I'll include clips here for the recording people. If anybody's watching the stream live, then you won't see it, but in the recording, I'll have it. She's running up to him, and she's basically just acting crazy. After, I talked a lot about this in the other video I posted, but Britney Spears has had many occurrences of mental health issues and stuff, so she's known for basically being crazy. So she's running up to Wembanyama, screaming, being like Wemby, Wemby, and then reaches her arm out, and what it looks like to me, if you slow down the video, is she reaches her arm out and the security guard swats the arm away, and her own arm sort of comes back and hits her. So the security guard technically didn't even hit her face directly. It was the security guard hit her hand and her own hand hit her face. But again, that's what the security guard is supposed to do. For all they know, this is this crazy lady that's running up. She could, she's reaching her arm out like this. For all they know, she could have a knife or something trying to stab him. That's what security's for. That's what security is supposed to do. And sometimes shit like this just happens. And again, a lot of people, like the Breakfast Club, are talking about if this wasn't Britney Spears, nobody would give a shit. It would not be a story because it's what security's supposed to do. She ran up crazy, and after she gets hit, quote unquote, she really hit herself. She's cussing out Wembanyama and security, fuck you, fuck America, all that stuff.
It's America for you! Fuck you all!
Which, again, to me, just shows her mental state at that point where she's not really, in a place to be running up to somebody like that. It's not a good image, and it's not going to help your case or your defense to be like, all I did was walk up to him, when you're running up to him and then proceeding to cuss him out and everything. And again, I talked on there that Britney Spears has a lot of instances of crazy fans and stuff like that. She's dealt with crazy fans and paparazzi for a lot of her career, which is one one of the many reasons that she's had so many of those mental issues and freakouts and stuff like that I mentioned previously. So with all that and her having experienced stuff like that, why does she feel like it's right to go charge at him when she's had people charged at her and she doesn't appreciate it? I don't know. It just seems a bit hypocritical on Britney Spears to me. And to me, the security guard did what he was supposed to do. Again, there's going to be people disagreeing with me because my other Wembanyama Britney Spears video that I did has like an 80% like ratio, which like seems pretty high. Like 80% is still pretty good, but like a lot of my other videos are in like 95 to like 99 like ratios. So this one's doing a bit worse, but it's still, above 70% like ratio, which is okay. So there's going to be, Britney Spears fans or people that disagree with me and try and dislike the video. But, it is what it is. Anytime you give any sort of take with sports or anything else, there's going to be people that disagree with you. So it just comes with being on the internet. But there was something else that somebody said that I thought about as well in the comments of a lot of these videos. And it was, Britney Spears as a celebrity should have a PR team, right? She should have like people that reach out for her on her behalf. And so I understand that from Britney Spears' story, she's saying like, oh, I saw Wemby in my hotel, so that's why I went and tried to go talk to him. But Britney Spears has people that can go and reach out to Wemby and be like, hey, Britney Spears wants to talk to you. Like, let's set up a meeting or whatever. Like, she has people for that, Like, if Wemby's going to an event and Britney Spears is in the area, where, again, she was at this hotel where this whole happened, she has people on her team that can reach out and be like, hey, Britney Spears is at your hotel. She wants to meet you. Let's coordinate this, rather than just running up to Wembanyama like a crazy fan. And I don't know. I guess that sort of summarizes my take on it. Again, Breakfast Club does a good take on it, and they sort of said all of my thoughts. And I also have another video on it, which I'll link, talking about the drama as well. But there's going to be people disagreeing with me, but Britney Spears is in the wrong there. And, yeah, Wembanyama does not need to apologize or anything because he didn't do anything wrong. So, and even if the security guard hit her, which he didn't, that has nothing to do with Wembanyama. That has everything to do with the security guard on his own. Excuse me. But yeah, that's all I have for the Britney Spears drama. I'm just gonna go in order of my list here. So, for those of y'all that are watching the recording, there's going to be timestamps in the description like always, so y'all can just skip to whichever one y'all want to see. For people watching live, y'all are just going to have to bear with me as I go through my list because it's not necessarily in chronological order. So, the NBA talked a lot this year about their NBA rookie training program. I don't know why they're advertising it so much this year when this has always been a thing. If you look up like NBA training program, it's been a thing for a while, and even in their article, I believe they said it's been a thing since the 80s. I could be misremembering, but it's been around like for at least a decade or two. So I don't know why it's getting so much popularity now. But it does seem like a really good idea, and I think maybe the reason they're talking about it now is because they're gonna make it more strict or make some changes to it. Because obviously nowadays you have players like Ja Morant and Amani Bates that just got drafted. All these players that sort of have like a negative light around them or a negative image. And I think they're really going to push more importance on that NBA training program to sort of show players like how to act and everything like that. And I think that really is important because, I mean, every job sort of has that. If you start any job, they're going to make you do, you know, like ethics training videos, like code of conduct, like compliance training and stuff like that. So this is just the NBA's like version of that with this rookie training program. So I think it really is a good idea. And it's they're going to push more importance on it for a multitude of reasons. Again, a big part of it is the NBA's like image, the NBA's identity, and trying to preserve that and better that rather than having more instances of people like John Morant like acting out or these other players doing some weird things. But another big part of it is mental health as well. You know, when players do these types of things, you know, a lot of the time, whether it be an excuse or legitimate, players talk about mental health. And nowadays, in the modern day, mental health is being talked about a lot more, which is good. But for many years, it hasn't been. And the New Braunfels, I was about to say New Braunfels because I'm thinking of the acronym NB. The National Basketball Player Association, NBPA, excuse me, met with the NBA, and they had a big talk about mental health as well and how to better the mental health in players, how to deal with it more, everything like that. So this was probably a huge part of that discussion, was integrating it more into the rookie program, and also some veterans that have been in the league for a while, so that you can focus on the players that are coming into the league as well as the players that are already in the league, you know, how to go about mental health and everything, so that, again, these types of problems don't happen. And it really is good to really get that training and stuff like that. And because you also, they've talked about part of the training program as well is how to deal with money, how to deal with fans, stuff like that. So I think that is important as well, because sometimes you see athletes that get millions and millions of dollars and then somehow go bankrupt like a couple years later because they don't know how to handle that money. So that's a really important part as well. I think it really is good that these rookies are getting that training, sort of for all the reasons that I said. And I saw some people sort of tossing the idea back and forth about, does this take sort of the character development out of scouting? If you're just taking everybody through a rookie training course, to, you know, train everybody to get them to compliance and everything like that. Excuse me, had to take a drink real quick. But I would say it doesn't take away from scouting. The only reason why, or two reasons why, would be that, again, this has been going on for a while, this training program. There's just new changes that have been added to it. And so it's nothing new, so you can't just be like, you can't say like, oh, this is going to take away scouting when it's been a thing for a while. But on top of that, whether or not there's a training or not, everybody's going to have their own character and everything like that. And basically the argument was made is that, like, it puts everybody on equal ground for character and everything like that if they're going through this compliance training and everything like that. But, I mean, that's just not true because, again, it depends on how you're going to take that training and everything. You know, people scout for not only your playing ability, but for sort of the image and the character that you have. Like, what's your personality, you know, not only how are you on court, but how are you off the court, you know? And that's something that's really important with Wemby and, again, like John Morant and Amani Bates, who we'll talk about later. And so it's not going to take away that aspect, because even if you're putting everybody through compliance training in this rookie training program, it's up to the player on whether or not they're going to take all the information in, how much they're going to pay attention, how much they're going to actually care about it, how much they're going to make it a part of themselves, and things like that. So you could have person A and person B that both go through training. Person A sort of blows it off and doesn't care, and has a bad character, versus person B, pays attention, tries to take it all in, comes out of that training a better person and better role model off the court, things like that. Scouts are going to pay attention to that, and they're going to already have those thoughts in mind before they even draft anyway. Because the training program takes place after the draft, obviously, sort of around the same time Summer League is. So teams are already going to have an idea of how they're drafting. How is this person going to pay attention to what we tell them, and that correlates to, are they going to pay attention during the training program, things like that. It all goes back to the same idea of, is this person a role model? Is this person coachable, and things of that nature. So again, I really like the training program. I like what they're doing with it. So that's sort of my thoughts on that. So let's go to next thing on the list. So probably the big chunk of this video is going to be talking about Summer League, obviously. So let's go ahead and get in that. So rather than talking about Wemby first, I'm actually going to talk about Chet Holmgren and OKC. I think that OKC has a really good shot this year. Not for a championship or anything like that, but they've been just shy of the playoffs for a couple of years now. And let me double check that just to make sure I'm remembering correctly. But I'm pretty sure they've finished just short the past couple of years. If my Wi-Fi would load, that would be great. Yeah, so the Thunder made the 10th seed this past year. And then the year before that, where were they? Pretty sure did they make the playoffs before that or the play-in? I can't remember. That's why I'm checking right now. Yeah, so the Thunder were at 14th the year before that. I could have sworn there was a year that they made the play-in or something a little while before. But anyway, my point stands that they've sort of missed the playoffs the last couple of years, and I think they can sneak in there this year. I think they can either make the play-in and then win the play-in to be in the playoffs, or they can just make the 8th seed straight up and be in the playoffs. But they have a decent shot this year. They have Chet Holmgren back if he doesn't get injured. They have Josh Giddey. They have SGA. They have Jalen Williams. It's going to be a solid core, and it's going to be a solid young core as well. And they have all these draft picks that if they do decide for whatever reason they want to get a vet, then they can, even though I don't think they will because, again, this roster is full of young people. But if Chet doesn't get injured again, this is a solid run for them. Definitely not for a championship or anything, but they could go a solid, 5-6 games in the first round. I would say maybe 6-7 games in the first round. I don't think they'll make it to the second round, obviously, but we'll see. If they do make it to the second round against somebody, they'll probably get knocked out in 4 or 5. But I mean, a huge part of that is due to Chet Holmgren. And a lot of y'all that have been watching the channel for a while actually know that back before Chet got injured, I said that Chet was going to be a better prospect than Banchero. And, I mean, obviously Chet got injured, so it's hard to compare them. I don't know if I would say Chet is better than Banchero now because of all the stuff that Banchero's done. But it would definitely be close. Again, they're number 1 and number 2 picks, and they have completely opposite strengths and weaknesses. With Chet, it comes down to the same sort of stuff that people are saying about Wemby. It has to do with his frame and everything like that. But he has the height there. He's able to score and rebound efficiently. He's getting the blocks that are expected of him. I think his last game or one of his recent games was 15 points and 3 blocks, if I recall. So, again, he's putting up similar numbers to Wemby minus, much less points, but I feel like that will come with time. It's hard to compare Wembanyama and Chet as well because Chet, even if he hasn't been playing, has had that year experience of sort of sitting back and watching the NBA at least and knowing the inner workings and things like that. But it's going to be exciting to see Chet because, again, he just sort of has... It's a similar skill set to Wemby. I don't know what else to say. He's got the height. He's going to get blocks. He's going to get the rebounds. And I think as long as he doesn't get injured, he's going to be a really good asset. And there's a quote here from, I pulled it from one of the ESPN articles, and it says, Anthony Davis is going to put him in the basket. One Western Conference scout scoffed. So again, it just goes back to the same criticism like Wembanyama, where it's talking about his frame being super fragile and not going to be able to score in the post because there are more dominant, more bulky players and things like that. And I agree, and it's definitely going to be something to see because, I mean, he got injured last year. So it'll be interesting, but he definitely has put on some weight in the past year, which is good. But I think he'll be a spectacle to see this year. And I've seen some people debating him and Wembanyama for Rookie of the Year. Because, again, they have very similar skill sets, and Chet Holmgren is technically up for Rookie of the Year because he didn't play last year. But I still think it'll be Wembanyama because... I don't know. Wembanyama is like a couple steps above Chet. You know, Wembanyama has everything Chet has plus some. So it's sort of like an upgrade from Chet. But it'll be close. And I know that there are some hardcore Spurs fans, like even Quinn, the Spurs fan, that are saying that Wemby is in a complete other league from Chet. And on some level, I do agree with that, but on another level, I do feel like the comparison is a lot closer than people are making it out to be. Because, I mean, their game and their frame are, like, just very similar. They have very similar strengths and weaknesses. But I really think that Chet being back and the changes that OKC made over the offseason are going to be able to put OKC over that edge to make the playoffs this season. So I'm actually excited for that. OKC is going to be a team that's going to be watchable again for the first time in a while. So, but let's go ahead and get into Wembanyama and the Spurs because I know that's probably what most people are waiting on. Wembanyama and the Spurs, man. Where do I even start? Wembanyama played 2 games and now he's being sat out. And a lot of people are very divided on him being rested or him being sat out. A lot of people are saying he needs to play more and everything because it's a spectacle and we want to make sure he's not a bust. But he honestly needs his rest because, I mean, you got to understand a lot, like, with these international players. They play, like, they play further past the NBA Finals and everything. And they need that time to relax, especially with everybody saying Wembanyama is so fragile and he's going to be injury prone just like Chet Holmgren. He needs to rest. You know, he just got back from winning the championship in France. He literally just got back, and then the draft and, you know, freaking everything else happened. He hasn't had time to fucking sit down, man. He's been nonstop for like the past couple months. So Wembanyama needs to sit down, and he needs to rest his body. He needs to make sure he doesn't get injured. He needs to make sure that his limbs and everything are staying like stretched out and everything like that, especially when with his frame and being so fragile. As everybody says, you know, it's crazy to me that the same people that are saying like, oh, why are you sitting him out for after 2 games, are the same people that are saying he's gonna get snapped like a twig. Like, you can't have it both ways. But I mean, it's as simple as that. Wembanyama needs to rest. And I think that he'll come back in when the season starts, and it'll be fun to see. And they'll probably switch him out like every couple games just to make sure he doesn't get injured and that he rests just like in Summer League. But as for his actual performance, I think the first game he was just a little nervous because of the Britney Spears drama and everything like that. And he was still trying to figure it out. I know a lot of people talked about his low assist numbers and stuff like that, but a lot of the Spurs weren't hitting their shots that night. So it's like if he passes it to somebody and they don't make their shot, then it's not going to count as an assist, obviously. But he was still making decent passes and everything like that. He did have a lot of turnovers, but again, I think that's just sort of nerves and everything like that. It was his very first game in this NBA setting, and then he had to deal with, you know, the Britney Spears drama and everything like that, and he wasn't really focused. But he came back the second game. He had 27 points, and I think it was 4 blocks, something crazy like that. So he's definitely going to show up and play. And, you know, he was able to reset after that first game, and he was able to show out and show why he's the number 1 pick. And that's exactly what we needed. You know, all the doubters were proven wrong with that second game, and then he's able to rest now. And I think that says a lot about his mentality and his confidence, is that you see a lot of players where they have one bad game, and then after one bad game they have, you know, 10 other bad games after that or so, because they're sort of stuck in this confidence feedback loop where if they have one bad game, they feel bad about the one bad game, which causes them to have another bad game, and then they feel bad about having 2 bad games, and then they have a third bad game, and so on. But Wembanyama was sort of able to like shake off that first game and come back for the second game, which I think really does says a lot, and shows his maturity, shows his confidence, and you know, it should not go unsaid, and it should be a lot more noticed than it is currently, because again, you see a lot of vets that have to deal with that problem where one bad game turns into 5 bad games, and that's becomes a real big issue. And Wemby is able to not get into that feedback loop of himself. And then on top of like his maturity and confidence, you know, that goes into his mentality as well, where it sucks that I don't have, like, I can't show y'all the episode with CJ, but when me and CJ were talking on the episode, we had like a really good like 30 to 45-minute conversation about Wembanyama's mentality, because we were comparing it to other mentalities in the past. You know, we had a conversation comparing Kobe's Mamba mentality to Giannis's mentality to Wembanyama's mentality, and that sort of thing, and how all three of them connect to each other. And Wembanyama is coming in with that mentality, you know, of the Spurs being a team, and Wembanyama is coming in with that idea and mentality of the Spurs being a team. So that's why he's already passing the ball really well, and playing Spurs basketball right off the bat. And on top of that, you know, he's ready to put in the work, and he said in an interview where he was saying he wants to be the type of player that's coachable, and that reminds me a lot of Tim Duncan. And I know people make Tim Duncan comparisons with Wembanyama all the time, but that was a huge part of Tim Duncan's and Pop's relationship. Is like Pop thanked Tim Duncan for letting him be coached. Like, Tim Duncan was a coachable player and listened to all the feedback, and that led to the success, is that Tim Duncan took the feedback in and actually worked on it. And that's Wembanyama has come out and like verbally said that's what he wants to do, and he wants to get better, and he wants to constantly keep working. And the Spurs are the perfect place for that, because the Spurs are going to definitely work on that mentality. They have one of the best developments in the entire NBA, and they're going to work with that mentality and really make him the best that he can possibly be. And, you know, he could easily put some muscle or anything onto that frame with that mentality, just like Giannis has. I don't know if it'll be as much muscle as Giannis, because, you know, Giannis had like a crazy glow up, but, you know, it's not impossible. Again, especially with Wembanyama's mentality, like, he's ready to go in and put in the work. And you know, Jerry West called him you know, a modern Bill Russell, where Bill Russell was known for getting rebounds and blocks, and that led to a lot of championships, was simply that defense, which I'll talk about later. I feel like defense is sort of making this, I talk about it a lot, defense making a resurgence, and that dominant defense is going to be a really big part of that. But as for the development and the maturity, Popovich just signed a 5-year extension, meaning that Pop has at least 5 more years to sort of mold Wemby, like we were talking about. And I saw a lot of people talking about how old Pop is. Like, I saw some people joking that Pop is going to die on the court and stuff like that. Pop is only like 74, so I don't really think it's that big of an issue. People are acting like Pop is like 85. But Pop has 5 more years to mold Wemby, and I think that's really going to be... Why is my music stopped? What is going on? Sorry, I'm getting distracted. There we go. Now my music's back. I don't know what was happening. Sorry about that. Yeah, Popovich has 5 more years to mold Wemby, and with Wemby being 19 now, and obviously being a rookie, that leaves whichever coach comes along to sort of have Wemby's prime and everything like that. So we just need to make sure whatever coach comes after Pop doesn't waste that prime and work that Pop is going to put in these next 5 years. And I think the Spurs will do a really good job at hiring a new head coach. And I mean, half of the league at this point has worked under Popovich anyway, so they're going to have an idea of his coaching to begin with. And I usually hate on-court coaches, and what I mean by that is like player coaches and stuff like that. And I usually talk about how it's really bad for a team and stuff like that, like LeBron being lay coach for the Lakers and stuff like that. But I think Wembanyama taking 5 years of teaching from Pop can sort of become a mentor with those 5 years, and as well as the other vets that we're going to have, like Sohan and everything, and they can help instill more of Pop's teachings on whatever rookies or team that we have after Pop leaves as well. So those teachings will still be continued, especially with, again, if the new head coach that we get will most likely have worked with the Spurs in the past. As for Wembanyama, it's on like how it's going to compare in today's league. I mean, this has been said to death, and it's the same thing with Chet. I mean, it has to deal with his frame. You know, how is his frame going to work out in the modern NBA? You know, how is it going to compare with people like Anthony Davis, Draymond Green, Giannis, so on? We're just going to have to wait and see on that. But it'll be interesting, and I'm hoping that he doesn't get injured. So, as for his play style, the defense is obviously his biggest strength. His offense is good too, but I mean, we saw from obviously his height in the first game and everything that defense is really going to be where he shines. And I've done a whole video on this, but Wembanyama mixed with Sohan is going to be pretty deadly. Sohan can be defensive on the small end and get steals, and Wembanyama can be defensive on the tall end and get blocks. And it's really that simple. And again, I did a whole video breaking that down, so if you want more of my thoughts on that, then go check that out. But I don't want to spend a bunch of time rambling about Wemby and repeating the same things I've said. But for the last thing with the Spurs, you know, not even in regards to Wemby, I've talked a lot last year about Blake Wesley and Malachi, and from what I've seen, they just continue to improve, and I think they'll do really good this year. I think we haven't really seen their max potential because of the tank and everything like that. But the biggest thing from them that I see is their hustle and motivation. And again, that just goes into everything else that I've been saying with Wemby sort of trickled down. Well, I wouldn't say trickled down because they were there before Wemby, but you know what I mean. Like, to a lesser extent than Wemby's mentality and stuff like that is what I mean to say. But still huge. When I say a lesser extent, I don't mean little by any means. Is there a hustle and mentality to improve and get things done, and that's just part of being on the Spurs, and that's really really good to see. Is just the way that they're playing from the eye test. It shows that like they're ready to keep improving. They're ready to leave it all on the court and, you know, play until the whistle and everything like that. And that's really commendable to me. I like seeing Blake Wesley and Malachi go out there and just, you know, go 100%. And I think they'll just continue to improve and be really good. So I'm excited to see them play in a non-tanking season. The next person I have on my list, sort of out of nowhere that I want to talk about, is actually Marquise Noel. So I'm actually very excited to see him be drafted, because I actually didn't find out that he got drafted until a couple days ago. He got picked up by Toronto, and that made me really happy seeing that, because I talked about during March Madness that Marquise Noel was balling out like through the tournament, but because he had so many complications in college that we may not see him get drafted and everything. But Toronto got him in the second round, and that makes me really happy, because all a team needed was to give him a chance, you know. all Marquise needed was a chance. And I think that he's he's not coming in expecting to be, crazy good or anything like that. He's going to take this chance that's been given to him in the NBA with stride. He's not going to let it go to waste. He's going to put in the work and everything, and he's going to try and prove that he deserves to be here, which is really good to see from me. It makes me really happy to see that. And I think it's good that Toronto drafted him as well, because Toronto sort of needed it. Toronto, they needed a guard. That's why they got Grady Dick, and why they're getting Marquise Noel. So now they have a decent guard and then a decent backup guard. So Toronto did a really good job getting both of them, and I'm really excited to see how they do in the league. Again, I just wanted Marquise to get like a chance, and his stats are transitioning pretty well into the summer league. He had a crazy assist game, like high assist game recently, and that just transitions from what we saw from him in college. He had a NCAA assist record for assist, and he was really known for his facilitating ability and his passing ability in the tournament, and I think that's just transitioning really well, where he's having really high assist numbers in summer league as well. But again, I can't get my hopes up too high, because even if it transitions well into summer league, it could not transition from summer league to the NBA, and we see that a lot. But so far, it's transitioning well from the NCAA to the summer league, so I'm hoping that it continues to transition into the NBA as well. And I'm really happy to see him playing. So I'm hoping that he continues to not take this chance for granted and put in that work, and I honestly expect him to, and we'll see how well he does. So we had some injuries in summer league as well. I'm not going to talk too much about them, but Scoot got injured, and one of the Thompson twins got injured, which sucks to see. And a lot of people talk about, taking summer league away for these reasons. We get super hyped for a player to play, and then they play in the summer league and they get injured, and then people like Chet are out for, the entire season. There's not, again, I just talked about a majority of the time, a lot of summer league doesn't transition to the NBA anyway. Players could be amazing in summer league, and then when they get to the actual league, they average like 5 points a game. Or the inverse happens, somebody averages 5 points a game in summer league, and then they're like an all-star in the actual league. So a lot of people have talked about taking the summer league away for that reason, and for injuries, and let players rest. And with those points, I sort of have to agree, but I don't think it's going to go away anytime soon, unfortunately, because that's just, it's the NBA. That's what they do during the offseason. That's how they're going to continue to make money and not just have no income, basically, for the months of June through September until the season starts back up in October. But I honestly don't think summer league is necessary either, because at that point you've already made your draft picks. Everybody's excited to see the draft picks play, but it's not like you can do a takesies backsies when you see them in summer league, and undo your draft pick and stuff like that. But I don't know, that it's people's chance to see the draft pick, so the NBA is not going to take it away because of money. But I personally don't think that the summer league should have that much importance, especially when, again, a lot of stuff doesn't really translate well. But it is what it is. So right. Next thing I want to talk about is the Rockets. I don't have much to say on here. There's hustle from everybody that I'm seeing on the Rockets. Jamari Smith showed out to play. Terry Eason showed out to play. Cam Whitmore showed out to play. And so we could see the Rockets move up a couple places. I still don't think they're going to be like crazy good and be in the playoffs or in the play-in, but they'll definitely move up a couple seeds, and it will definitely be entertaining basketball at least. But I definitely do think we'll see improvement from the Rockets, and everybody's been playing well in Summer League, but again, it could not necessarily transition over, so we'll see. The only thing that I would critique the Rockets on is I saw a lot of like selfishness on plays. I didn't see that many passes or good passes. I saw a lot of people that were open on plays that weren't getting passed to and stuff like that. So that's the only thing I would work on is more team ball with the Rockets. But yeah. And then Amani Bates, I touched on this a little bit before, but wanted to do make it its own topic. He originally was gonna be the best prospect. He was gonna be this number 1 pick. He was gonna be this lottery pick, and then everything happened and he dropped really far down. And now people are asking if he's the steal of the draft. And I just think this is a prime example of how your image and how you present yourself is just as important in the draft and the NBA as how well you play. Your off court again is just as important as your on court. And a big reason for why his image sort of got tainted is because he went to a random school because of his parents and everything like that. And then he had, just this complicated situation. And he wasn't old enough to be drafted for a while, and then he sort of gave up on college and things like that, and then he also ended up getting arrested. So just all those things in combination with each other, again, sort of gave off this bad image and sort of wiped away the spotlight that he had for a while. But the Cavs ended up getting him in the second round. And I think that's a big steal and a big W, because I've talked about how the Cavs, I think, are going to be successful in these next couple of years if they continue to build the way I think they're going to build, because they really are the Cavs are building like a natural 5 team where each person is pretty good at their position and pretty well-rounded on defense and offense. They have Evan Mobley at power forward, Jarrett Allen at center, and then they're getting these guards, and they're making a really well-rounded team. And they have Donovan Mitchell now. I think that very soon we could actually see the Cavs start to be successful again, and it really is going to. Amani Bates could very well be the steal of the draft because of his playing ability, just not and then his image just sort of making him drop down. So we'll see. There's a quote here. Here it is. Yeah. Bates was not exactly discerning with his shot selection in the first game this summer, finishing with 16 points on 5 of 8 shooting from the field. 4 of 13 from 3 with 0 assists and 3 turnovers. It was the sort of performance that showcased both the impressive talent that once made Bates one of the most enticing young prospects in the sport, and also the rough spots that dropped him into the second round in a 2-way contract for his rookie season. So yeah, that sort of says it all, where it's this summer league has shown off his weaknesses as well as his strengths and everything. And we'll see if he's the steal at the draft or anything like that. And I mean, that's all I have to say on that, is that the off court again is just as important as the on court, and he is really becoming the prime example of that. So there's all that drama that unfortunately was surrounding his all the drama surrounding his draft pick, unfortunately. So but his playing ability is still shining out. All right. Next thing I have on here is the season tournament. So if y'all have not seen already, the NBA released a season tournament. And the only thing I have to say about it is why? Like, what is the reason? It just seems very pointless to me. The most obvious, and I don't know if I would even say obvious, reason for it on a business standpoint would be to stop tanking. I think that's sort of the hidden subtext and reason for it, because it gives teams reason to still be competitive and everything like that, to get this quote-unquote in-season championship and everything like that. But I still don't think it's going to be that important, because teams are going to care more about, actual championships and things like that. But it gives players reason to like play. It de-incentivizes tanking. Like I said, it de-incentivizes resting players for multiple games, things like that. But I still don't think it's going to be as crazy as the NBA is hoping it's going to be, because at the end of the day, what matters is championships, not this in-season new tournament thing. And that's why I think it's sort of dumb and silly, in my honest opinion, because it just seems so unnecessary. That's the best way I can explain it, and I don't know how else to explain it. Besides that, just if you will go and look through the rules and look at the video of how it's explained, it's exactly what it sounds like with the name. It's an in-season tournament. So it's basically a championship that's not a championship, and you're getting a trophy halfway into the season. Nobody's gonna care about that trophy. They're gonna care about the Larry O'Brien at the end of the freaking season. But it seems unnecessary, and it seems overly complicated, and it just adds additional unnecessary and arbitrary rewards, like in-season tournament winner and in-season tournament MVP they said they're going to have. It just seems so unnecessary and dumb to me. But I think the honest reason they're doing it is because, as I said, it's going to sort of create a disincentive to tank and a disincentive to let players ride the bench and stuff like that. So I have NBA expansion on here, but I'm actually going to save that for later so I can get into other stuff, because NBA expansion could be 30 minutes on its own. But I think it's pretty obvious that the NBA does want to expand, because they're doing more and more stuff in Vegas. They're doing Summer League in Vegas pretty much every year now, it seems. They built the huge dome out in Vegas. The in-season tournament that we were just talking about, they're going to play one of the in-season tournament games in Vegas. It seems like they're making more and more of a push to have Vegas audiences and stuff happen in Vegas. So I think that's definitely going to translate into and sort of transition into expanding a team into Vegas. And I think that's pretty obvious, but I can talk about that more later, because again, that's a deep dive. So the NBA just accepted, I think actually this morning or last night, as I'm recording this, new rules for flopping and challenges. So now if you flop, it's going to be counted as a tech and a free throw, which I think is really good because, I mean, it does what it's going to do what it sets out to do, which is to prevent flopping and de-incentivize people flopping and things like that, and make the NBA less of a theater act and more of a sport. The only problem that I've seen people complain about and that I agree with is there's not really details given on what classifies as a flop or not, and so the lines are very hazy there, and also it just creates the same problem in the opposite direction. Refs have sort of like free reign and autonomy to call what they feel is a foul, and now they have the same power to call what they think is a flop. So it's just sort of giving the refs more power to be like, oh, that wasn't a foul, that was a flop, which is very interesting. So we'll just have to see how it goes. They put it on a 1-year trial period, so we're going to try it this season, and then if it sucks, they're going to take it away, and if it's okay, then they'll keep it. But I think the big problem that people are concerned with is it's just going to give the refs even more power to sort of determine what they feel like. And what's weird is that they also said that, quote, it is possible that the officials could call both a foul and a flop on the same play. So I don't know how the fuck that works. That seems weird to me, that they could be like, oh, you flopped for that foul, but we're still going to give the person the foul. Like, that just, to me, seems like it defeats the whole entire fucking purpose. But I don't know. Again, it's on a 1-year trial period, so we'll see. But yeah. Then the other new rule is the second challenge if the first one is successful. This is something that people have asked for forever, and so I'm very glad that they finally have it. Because, I mean, this is the way it works in practically any other sport, is you're able to challenge a play if you think the refs got it wrong, which is good. And the NBA added that a little while back because we were asking for the ability to challenge plays for a while as well. But even if you're right, it still takes the timeout, which seems silly. Because, again, in other sports, that's sort of the gamble or whatever, is that if you're wrong, you lose the challenge and lose the timeout. However, if you're right, you keep the timeout and keep the challenge. So the NBA has sort of adopted that now, where if your challenge is correct, you keep the challenge, which I think is really good because, again, we make, like, as NBA fans, we've been asking for this for a while with how many mistakes refs make and everything like that. And so there's not much to add on that rule change other than just announcing that it's been made. But, I mean, NBA fans are happy, man, because we've been asking for that rule change for, like, the past, like, freaking 4 years, it feels like. Probably not that long, but, I mean, that's what it feels like, at least. It's like we've been asking for it for, like, half a decade. We'll go ahead and get into off-season drama, and then if we still feel like recording, then we'll get into the Nuggets' success in the finals, and then I think that'll be it. So, off-season drama, Harden is requesting a trade from Philly, which is interesting because he sort of said, like, oh, get rid of Doc Rivers, or I'll request a trade. So they got rid of Doc Rivers, and then you request a trade anyway. But it seems like he's not really liking Philly. So we'll see if he re-signs and what happens. The only problem is, he requested a trade, and there isn't many places for him to go because he's jumped so much from team to team that I don't think any teams are going to want to take him with the expectation that he's going to ask out and request a trade from that team very soon after as well, especially because of the way Harden's been playing recently. You know, we talk about how Harden isn't in his prime anymore, and he's sort of starting to decline. And so his trade value isn't as high as it used to be. And I think Harden is still living in sort of this world where his trade value is super high and everything like that. But, you know, he had a couple years with the Nets. He's had 1 or 2 years with Philly now. I can't remember. So, I mean, it's been a while since he's been in Houston. And since he's left Houston, you know, he's sort of been on a decline. And so he does not have that much trade value. And so there's not much like teams are willing to give away for Harden. But Philly is obviously going to try and capitalize on what they can get for him. And there's going to be disconnect there about how much he's worth. And a trade could very well not happen because of his trade value. And so it sort of creates a weird it creates a weird circumstance for Harden, the same one that we saw when he wanted to leave the Nets, which was, does he intentionally play bad to be like, hey, I'm going to play bad until you trade me? Or does he try and play well so that if he plays well, his his trade stock goes up, more teams are willing to trade for him, and then his trade gets through faster and easier. You know, there's pros and cons of each. You know, if you intentionally play bad to tell your team you want to get traded, they'll be more likely to tell you to get the fuck out of there. But at the same time, if you play well, then it makes it easier on your team to actually trade you. So there's incentive for Harden to do either one. And that's why it's interesting to see which way he'll end up going. As for Dame, it's sort of a similar situation. The weight is only going to the weight is only going to hurt the Trailblazers, how much they're willing to wait. Even though their GM said, we're going to be patient, we're going to do what's best for the team. And they said it could take months to trade Dame, but the longer they wait, the worse it's going to be. And so that creates the same incentive for Dame, where it's like, okay, does he intentionally play bad to say, I want to get out of Portland? Or does he continue to play well so that his trade stock goes up? But, I mean, this is a difficult situation because Dame only wants to go one place. And if he's not going to Miami, you know, where is he going to go when he says he wants to go to Miami, and that's it? But, you know, Miami may not be willing to give up that much for Dame. Because I saw some people proposing that, like, the Heat has to get rid of Lowry and, like, all these other pieces, and the Heat probably aren't going to do that. So, with other offseason craziness, CP3 went to the Warriors. And, you know, a lot of people have been making memes and talking about this because CP3 is reaching, he's getting up there in age. You know, he's almost LeBron's age, and he still does not have a single championship ring. So, the Warriors are sort of his last-ditch effort to get a ring. And I honestly predict that if he does not win with the Warriors in the next 2 to 3 years, he's going to retire. He's going to retire within 2 years of not winning a championship with the Warriors if that happens. Because, again, he's getting up there. He's wanting to get a championship. And, yeah. I think either way, in the next 2 years, he'll retire. Because if he gets a championship, that's really all he wants is a championship. So if he gets one, he can retire. Or if he doesn't get one in the next 2 years, he could just be like, all right, that's it for me. Like, I didn't get a championship, but it is what it is. And then, like, he retires and dips out and, like, takes the L. So, I'm not sure. But I definitely feel like he'll retire in the next couple of years because he's getting up there. And the Warriors are sort of his last chance. And people have talked about the beef between, the Rockets and the Warriors and CP3 and the Warriors. But, again, maturity comes with age and everything like that as well. And I think that, CP3 doesn't really care about any of that at the end of the day. He's just there to play basketball. And, again, he really wants a ring. So it would be pointless to go to the Warriors to get a ring and then create all of this locker room drama and this beef because that's only going to hurt his chances to get a ring. So I think he's sort of like swallowing his pride and swallowing this quote-unquote beef so that he can hopefully win a championship for himself. So with the Lakers, they got rid of Dennis Schroeder, which is interesting because I thought that he was pretty decent. And he was a pretty decent shooter from what I saw of him whenever he played, but they decided to get rid of him. AR-15 or Austin Reeves was underpaid. He deserves a lot more because he's like he's one of if not the best shooter on the Lakers currently. And that's really what's carrying the Lakers is shooting right now because AD is either always injured or LeBron is too old to do much right now. And so Austin Reeves really deserved to be paid more because he's sort of the backbone of the Lakers right now. And then the Lakers added a bunch of shooting to their roster, which is really what they need. Again, like that's why I say Austin Reeves is underpaid because more players like Austin Reeves is what they need. They need like those they need those 3-point shooters and everything to their team. And it seems like they're trying to add more, which is good. But Austin Reeves should have been paid more. And the Lakers need more shooters. So with Russell Westbrook took a massive pay cut, which was interesting. But I think that just shows that Russell Westbrook just wants to go out and play basketball at the end of the day, and he wants to stay on the Clippers. I think he likes playing for the other LA team, which is probably why he was taking a massive pay cut. Is he just enjoys being there, regardless of how much he's getting paid. He's already played in the league for a couple of years, so he probably doesn't care too much about money because he's already got paid in the past. And yeah. I think that says a lot about Russ and like the reason that he's there with the amount of money that he took. There's some stuff going on with Zion as well. There was a weight clause added to his contract, which is interesting because, people talk about Zion being a powerhouse when he does play, but the problem is he never really plays. So now there's a weight clause added to his contract, and we could definitely see more teams adopt that. There's rumors with, the OnlyFans people and, the 18-plus tape and everything that he made. So that goes back to what we said with Amani Bates and the other players where your image could definitely help or hurt your sort of standing in the league and standing with your team. And this stat right here, Zion only played 114 games in 4 seasons. So with all that put together, Zion could end up getting traded by the Pelicans. The only problem is it's hard to see who would trade for him. Because everybody's debating will he get drafted or will he get traded, will he not get traded? And that's been a question for the last couple of years. But that's really a hard question to answer because, again, it's he's amazing when he's available, but he's almost never available. So it's do they keep him and continue to pay him to just be on the bench? Or do they trade him and then the new team is able to keep him on a diet and make him available, and all of a sudden you just gave a dominant Zion to somebody? And that's really the question of how much is he worth? And it's hard to really determine that, and how much the Pelicans can get back for him if they do decide to trade him. And it's just a difficult situation and a difficult question to answer of like, how much is he worth and how much do you trade for Zion? But yeah. Kyrie Irving re-signed with the Mavs. I honestly think that's a bad idea. I mean, he re-signed for 3 years, which I think is interesting, because I honestly thought that Kyrie was just going to try it out with the Mavs and then dip out, especially because there's all this talk about Kyrie going to the Suns to be with KD again. So Kyrie is back on the Mavs for 3 years. The big reason why they probably re-signed him was to make Luka happy, but we've seen in the past that this Kyrie Luka thing isn't really working out. So it's interesting that they re-signed Kyrie, especially for that long. I personally would have only re-signed Kyrie for like 1 or 2 years, because again, like, I don't really think this Kyrie Luka thing is working out, but maybe they want to test it for the next couple of years, because the trade happened in the middle of the season last time. But I don't know. We'll have to wait and see how it goes this season, but I personally don't like Kyrie on the Mavs. You know, everybody was going crazy about it, like, oh, the Mavs are done for. I mean, the league is done for because of the Mavs and everything, and the Mavs are gonna go crazy. But it didn't end up really doing anything, and it doesn't seem like it's worked out. So the Bucks signed Malik Beasley, amazing signing. You know, the Bucks need some more shooting for when Middleton and Drew Holiday can't hit their shots, so that adds really good shooting, as well as DiVincenzo to the Knicks. The Knicks have been very heavy on their on their forwards recently, so they need some more shooters and some more guards, so that's a really good pickup for them. DiVincenzo did a really good job on the Warriors, actually. So seeing him go to another team, he could end up being a really good shooter for whatever team he's on, especially the Knicks, that again need some better guards and things like that. And then the last one I have on here is Bradley Beal to the Suns. This has been talked about a lot, but I think the Suns are making a very bad decision. I think the Suns are going to be screwed, and the Suns are just going to end up in the exact same place that they're at right now. Because they got rid of CP3, and they got like a decent guard back and everything, but they have no bench. They're constantly giving up assets of their bench to get KD and these guards, and they're gonna try and play, like this little bit of small ball type thing. But when has small ball ever worked? The Houstons blew it up and tried to do small ball, and then they sucked for like the next couple years, and now they're trying to rebuild their team because they got rid of Westbrook, they got rid of Harden, they got rid of CP3. They tried the small ball thing and it didn't work, and then they had to rebuild for like the next 4 years. So I think the Suns are just sort of fucking themselves over. They have no bench, and that topic's been done a bunch of times, so I'm not gonna spend too much time on it. But check out Rusty Bucket's video on it if you want to learn more. But I mean, the Suns are gonna regret that trade, and the Suns are gonna suck for a while. It's gonna be interesting. So, but yeah, that's all I have for off-season trades and everything like that. I did have 2 more things on here, but we're already going for 1 hour and 15, so I may just cut it off here. I was going to talk about the Nets' success in the finals and everything. I may wait until I have a guest to go back and forth on that, depending on when I have a guest, because obviously I don't want to wait too long to talk about that, because then it's going to be old news. It's pretty much already old news now at this point with Summer League starting. But, yeah, and then the other thing was 2K overalls, but I mean, that's like a very minor thing, so I'm not going to draw the episode out just for that, because I mean, those don't really matter in the grand scheme of things. So I think that's it for this episode, guys. I hope y'all liked a bit of a longer episode, going 16 minutes over my usual time because of how long I've waited for an episode. Again, like, there's reasons for why I haven't recorded for so long, so I hope y'all understand. I'm gonna try and maybe do clips of the podcast as well to, like, sort of get more eyes on the podcast and more engagement and stuff. But we'll just have to see what my schedule looks like over these next couple weeks and things like that. But I appreciate all the support, guys. We've jumped up like almost 200 subs in the last couple months, which is crazy. And the last couple of my videos have been like getting like 5, 6, 7,000 views. So really appreciate that. But if you are watching the podcast and watched all the way through, then go ahead and like and subscribe, all that good stuff. Because it really does help me out. Like I was just saying, with like the amount of subs and views we've got in the past couple of days. You know, share the video around, all that good cliche YouTuber stuff. And then also, you can check these out over on Spotify. So go check it out on Spotify, and if y'all are listening on Spotify, then go check out the video version as well over on YouTube and subscribe there. But I think that'll be it for this one, guys. I have something special planned for episode 50, so I don't know how long it'll be before episode 50, because I have a plan, and I need to buy materials for that. But I have something cool planned for episode 50, so just be on the lookout, guys. But with that being said, I will see y'all in the next one, and peace out. Nathan Budnett, episode 49.
This is not okay. This needs to stop now.